You're listening to Pole Parlour, a fun, inspiring podcast for all those bewitched by pole dance. Each week, your Madam Crimson Minxxx has candid conversation with unique, engaging individuals from within and around the pole dance community. Pole Parlour is passionate about preaching creativity, soulful sensuality, and empowerment through pole dance.
You know how we do.
Welcome everyone to Pole Parlour. This is episode 43, Veena of Studio Veena. I'm your host, Crimson Minxxx. This week on the podcast, we have Veena, the amazing woman behind the robust online pole community, StudioVeena.com. On this episode, we talk about the old school days of pole when Veena was inspired to create her website, how, as a self-taught dancer, Veena created a training method that has helped thousands of polers around the world learn to improve their pole repertoire, and her experience being a full-time pole professional as a mother of 4 children. And as always, don't forget to check out Veena's post-podcast interview on the blog at poleparlour.com, where she shares her favorite photos, music, video, and more. And while you're there, check out the Pole Parlour shop, where you can pick yourself up some fun, cheeky pole wear. And now, here's Veena. Welcome, Veena of StudioVeena.com to the Pole Parlour podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for being with us. I'm so excited to chat with you. And we will start with the first question we ask everyone. For how long have you been poling, and how did you first discover pole dance?
Well, I've been pole dancing off and on for about 9 years now.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. And I discovered pole dance. Well, I'd always known that it was in strip clubs.
Yeah.
Thought that was cool, but not accessible to me.
Yeah.
So then one day my husband and we went to a friend's party, and they had rented stage poles, and they were platinum stages, 2 stage poles. And I went up to them and I said, is there strippers coming? Like, what's happening? And they're like, no, it's for anybody to, use, because they had music playing, and it was just this big picnic outdoor thing. I thought, seriously? So I spent the entire night switching between the left pole, the right pole, the left pole, just waiting to see if anybody was going to get up. And if nobody got up, there I went. I was like, I got to check this out. And by the end of the night, I had people asking if I could teach them. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just, the next day I couldn't lift my arms. It was amazing. So then the next day I said, if they have these poles, you must be able to buy them. So my husband got on and, we Googled, and we found out, yes, you can. So we went and we bought a permanent pole from Platinum Stages. That was my first pole. And then we did get an X pole after that, but.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, 9 years ago, you had to do your research to figure all of this out. This wasn't like a common thing where you could just go to your local pole studio and buy one from them. Were you, okay, your friends are really fun. I wish I had friends that threw parties like that.
Yeah.
But B, were you athletic before or dancing before? Because hell no, I couldn't just find a pole and just start doing things on it. So what's your history in that?
Yeah, I was a personal trainer. So I had the fitness background. I'm never a dancer, never a gymnast, anything like that. I wish I had been. Yeah. But yeah, so the strength was definitely there to begin with. And, I catch on to things physically quite quickly. So.
Nice. Yeah, I could see how that could benefit you.
Yeah.
So then, I'm assuming there was not where were you living at this time?
This was in Minnesota.
In Minnesota. And were there pole studios around that you know?
No, I found one after I had already started Studio Veena. I don't even remember what it was called or what the name was. But yeah, no, there was really nothing.
Okay. Yeah, I think Dollhouse is in. There's a Dollhouse.
Yep, that's newer.
Okay, but that wasn't around in 2009. Okay, so you just mentioned Studio Veena. So let's talk about that. You started your own studio, but not a traditional studio.
Right.
What year was this, and kind of what was the process of that, and what is it?
Yeah, Studio Veena has been around for 8 years now. It was started shortly after my own journey, because I wanted to teach. That was my big thing. I found this amazing thing that I fell in love with. I'd always loved training and weightlifting, but pole dance, you had that whole fitness and strength aspect, but you could be super sexy, you could dance around, and so it was something that I was just immediately drawn to. So yeah, we've been around for 8 years, and it was something that I hadn't initially thought, let's make a website out of it. I had done tutorials on YouTube. I discovered YouTube after I found some websites that just had photos. So that's how I taught myself through photos.
Okay.
And then I discovered YouTube, and I was like, what? And so Tara Karina was actually one of the people that I learned from. So
yeah, the people we've talked to, like we've had Carol Helms on and Ariel Amy, and we've talked about how back 8 years ago that was when there weren't a lot of pole studios, people were finding each other on YouTube, and connecting that way and learning how to pole that way. And so you then decided to start your own tutorial program.
Yeah. Yep. So what had happened was I actually had a physical studio space ready to go. I talked to a performing arts studio, and they said, I showed them some videos, and to my surprise, they were like, yeah, we totally will open our space to you. So I'd ordered 6 X poles, and this was back when they were still in the UK. So I was waiting for them to be shipped. And what had happened was everything was lined up, and then I found out I was expecting baby number 4, which was not planned at all. And the next day, my husband lost his job.
Oh my goodness.
So this was like, okay, now what do? We have these polls coming. We've got, I don't know. So my husband ended up getting a job in California, and I still wanted to teach. And I asked him, I said, because he's a tech guy, I said, is there any way, because I like doing the YouTube videos, is there any way that I could put them somewhere where people could come and find them? He's like, sure, I can make you a website. He's like, what if we make it a full-on community website where it's not just the lessons, but it's a community? And I thought, you can do that? He's like, sure, I can do that. I can do anything. So it was actually his idea to turn it into not just lessons, but a full-on community. So we did that together, but yet we were apart. So he was out in California. I was still in Minnesota.
So you started filming things in Minnesota.
I was sick and pregnant
and pregnant. Oh my goodness.
Newly pregnant. So no one knew, no one could tell. It was the beginning where you're not feeling well.
Yeah. Wow. Good for you for sticking through that. But you had an agenda. And so was there any, because, we were talking about you with Ariel Amy, and I was saying that, when I am not an old school poler, I'm a new school poler. And, I think the difference of that is 4 or 5 years, but
yeah, I know, right?
It's so funny. We're at that point. But when I started poling and I started Googling for pole dance, Studio Veena kept coming up. All of these, kind of conversational threads.
Discussion.
So, yeah. And so I kept thinking, what is this? And I could tell there was very old archived conversations happening, and it was very robust. And so that's how I discovered you, just from Googling, because I feel like you have, just from your site, one of just the oldest cached platforms of people discovering and starting to talk about pole dance.
Yes.
And so for those who've never been to your website, first of all, it's studioveena.com, and I'm going to put, if you're watching, it's above Veena's head, and I'm going to put it in the show notes also. But so if someone goes to your website, what can they expect? What can they do?
Well, it's free to sign up, always free. Everything is free except for the lessons. But even when you first sign up as a new member, you get full access to see the lessons and to see, is this something I'm interested in? What do I offer? So you get access to the community to ask questions, things like that, right away, all the time, always free. We have a chat room that we actually just started up again too.
Yeah.
And that you can come in on Wednesdays, 7 my time, which is Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, and I do stretching in there with people. We just enjoy, just follow along with what I'm doing. But anyway, I offer a ton of stuff on Studio Veena. It's not just pole dance. It started as just pole dance, but I think I have 14 different sections that people can choose from pole dance, chair dance, hula hoop, off pole exercises, quick lessons, flexibility training, conditioning, foam roller. I have a Venus tip section. So all kinds of things. I have 5 programs at this point, which are 30-day programs. So you can actually just choose a program. Everything's done for you for the entire month. You don't have to think about rest days or reps. I tell you everything, exactly what to do. So, and there are different programs too. So they can, for example, there's an invert program. So if you can invert, you can still use the program as your workout guideline. But if you can't invert yet, it's a way to progress up towards it. So there's a lot.
And it's divided, because I've been on the site, it's divided by levels as well.
Yes.
So it's accessible to a beginner to an expert. So
absolutely. Yeah, everything is always in order. So each section, you just start at the very first lesson and it explains, continue on from this point. So you don't have to hunt and search, to know where to start.
Very organized and very
yes.
clear to follow. And I would assume, would you consider this a good resource for teachers?
Absolutely, yes. I welcome instructors to, use the program guidelines, the routines that I have. They can absolutely come, just say, hey, we got this from Veena. That's all I ask,
I think that's a very reasonable thing to ask.
Yeah, there's also a Veena method that people can download. It's great for studios and instructors, so they can pass them out to all their employees, and they can say, this is, a good guideline to use for your classes. And that's totally free too.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so. You definitely offer a lot. And you mentioned before, one thing I really like about your program is that you're very clear about rest days.
Yeah.
And I think when people train themselves, they don't necessarily know, but you come from a training background, so you're very
yes.
knowledgeable about it. So can you just educate us a little bit on this whole, how often we should be on the pole and how many days we should be maybe just stretching or flowing?
Yeah. Well, and it's going to depend on your level of fitness to begin with. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's a more seasoned pole dancer, maybe been doing it for years, your body gets used to those demands you've placed on it. So these people have learned they can pole dance, 6 days a week, things like that. But they still need to make sure they're resting adequately. But, when you split things up, for example, if on Monday you're working lots of split grips, then Tuesday you would work more on leg hangs. Things like that. So and that's what the programs do. They split things up for you so you don't have to, worry about all of that. But for a new pole dancer, it's really important to get those rest days and to start off at a level that's not just crazy insane, because I know when we get off the pole and then come back to it, you just want to hit it hard and be like, yeah, I'm back. But what happens is you get so sore and you just, by the end of the week, you're like, just trashed. And so you need to pace yourself, make sure that you're resting, make sure that you're doing, a good amount of reps, but not so many reps and sets that you just exhaust yourself completely. And then as you get more into it and as you become more advanced, you can work a little bit harder and your body's used to it.
Yeah, and the rest days you put in aren't like sit on the couch and eat chips. It's like stretch, do some, maybe
active
yoga
rest.
Flow, active rest. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I have offered other things other than pole on the website so that you can, maybe you want to work on some chair dance or things like that on your rest day. Something that's a little less strenuous, although some of the things are more difficult. But you'll know because it's down the line it's more difficult than at the beginning. So of a section.
Yeah. So like, I think a lot of people maybe think, oh, I can do my pole training. If I want to do online pole training, I can just do it through YouTube.
Right.
Give me your response to why they shouldn't do that.
Well, unfortunately, when you go onto different social media, you're going to get different people's opinions on what's beginner and what's not. And that's a huge issue. That we get so many people coming to Studio Veena saying, I was learning from, YouTube and I can't do the reverse grab and I don't understand. I'm a beginner. How come I can't do this? Well, it's because it's not a beginner move, technically. So when you're learning from me, I actually developed a method. It's something that's developed over the years. And it came about, the Veena method came about because of my fourth baby. I came into pole dance with strength and I thought, I caught on fairly quickly, easy peasy. So I did what everyone was doing, which was, spins first, that kind of thing. And then I had my fourth baby. I was off the pole for a while. I get back into training and I'm thinking my arms are going to fall off here. Why are we teaching, things in this way? So that's when I sat down. I thought I'm going to come up with a better way to improve strength while enjoying yourself, while learning, and then working up to the more difficult things like reverse grab spins, stuff like that. So when you train with me, it's like having a trainer. It's like having somebody, and I always am there to answer your questions too. So
yeah, and as is the community. So like, what are some of the things like, so when we're saying community, just picture like you're like the action that goes on Facebook, but just with pole dancers, Right. So it's like conversation threads and people post things and people connect and share. And back when it wasn't easy to connect with people through Facebook, because I don't even know if Facebook existed back then.
Right.
It was a way for people from all around the world who were practicing pole to meet, to chat. So like, what are, some topics that people can find on CD Veena?
You know what? It ranges from help. I screwed up my hairstyle, like I bleached my hair too much, and they need help with that. We've got crazy stuff like that, from women being concerned about stretch marks. They're worried about going to class and being judged for, their weight or stretch marks or something like that. And then we've got people sharing, oh, look, I discovered this trick. Does anybody know, of another way to do it? Or every single thing you can think of, I feel like we've had asked on Studio Veena.
It's so great. Like it's searchable. So if you, if you get on that community, if you have questions, you can search things. And I've noticed threads that have been revived, like it started back in 2009 and then like it hits back up in 2013. So like, you can still hit them up and keep them going with as, new information comes in. Yeah.
Well, and we actually just redid, not we, my husband, webmaster. I didn't do any of it, but webmaster went through and redeveloped the search. So it's far more relevant than it used to be. This was just last week.
Oh, wow.
So
Perfect.
People have been getting really good results with that. And they say the results are more relevant. So it's even better now.
Yeah, you have to. That's the thing with technology. You have to keep reinvesting in it. And this was not a time when it was like, plugins and really easy platforms existing that you can kind of just feed into your site. So I mean, your husband did a lot of work on that.
Yeah, this is totally custom.
Yeah, and this was I can't imagine there were that many competing online sites that offered lessons in this capacity.
Yeah, at the time there were 2 forums that I knew of, but that was it. There was no fully functional. We were the first website that had everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it was Pole Junkies. The other one is that.
Yep, and Vertical Dance.
Okay, yeah. So
I
always like getting the historical information on this. Like, what was going on back then? What were people finding?
And there was another website that had like photos, and that's the website where I went to the photos, but I've tried to Google and search for it so I could remember, but I cannot think of what it was. So
it may just be taken down at this point.
It might be.
Who even knows? No, could you imagine a time where you couldn't go to Instagram just to search PD hashtags?
I know, exactly.
Yeah, well, that's, what you've done is created something amazing. And so I encourage people who maybe weren't familiar with this platform to go check it out because, it's so rich, not just in the lessons, but in the community that it provides, and just meeting up and, meeting other pole dancers out there, which is always cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned before, but before you started this, you were having your 4th child. So you are obviously a pole professional. Is that something that you are like very open about with the other parents? And what's the reception been to that?
Yeah, I've always been open with what I do. And the reception, with the exception of one person, has always been fairly good. And I try not to make the excuse and say, oh, it's just for fitness.
Good
right
for
away.
Good
Because, and a lot of the moms, I've handed out cards and it talks about, finding your fitness and your sensuality and things like that. And, I had a mom say, I really need to get in touch with that a little bit more. So that's very interesting. But I've only had one issue where a mom she found out what I did and she wouldn't let her son come play with my kids, but that changed.
See?
So pretty soon they were coming back to the house and it wasn't a big deal. But I've never hidden my poles. Okay. I've never been, don't say that, don't talk about it. My kids have told the teachers and things like that. So I've had teachers come up to me and say, your son says that you own like a really big website for pole dance. Is this true? Like they don't understand what that could possibly be. So I'm like, yeah. So one teacher actually had me send her some examples of the pole stuff I do. So I sent her some a sexy one, and then a more reasonable, fitness related one, and then a hula hooping one because my son had mentioned that I hula hoop. And she actually showed the class, this is what Henry's mom does. And so she showed the class the hula hooping one, of course, because I was the most appropriate. But so in the school here, everybody knows me as the lady who hula hoops and pole dances.
That's cool. And you know what? It probably, I guarantee when she chose the hula hoop, it was more for the kids' parents.
Yes, exactly.
Because the kids, like, if you never raised your kids thinking that this is something that you should be ashamed of me by, they don't know. They think it's cool.
No. Yep. And like my older sons know that poles exist in strip clubs. They're at that age now, but they can see that there's a difference.
Yeah.
And I also let them know that strip clubs are not bad either. So it's one of those things where you got to keep an open communication, and I've never downplayed and said, the people who are doing this are bad or wrong, or this is the only way you should do this. It can be used for all sorts of things.
Yeah, we need to just, if you're raising children knowing that this is just a normal thing, which it is,
yes,
it's all, to me, I think it's all like the parents, it's the older generation who've already been brainwashed. So
yeah,
that's so cool that you do that. And then do you have your kids, do they pole? Are they interested? Not really. Are they all boys? Is that what's going on, or?
Yeah, all boys, all 4 boys. We have a video of us pole dancing together when they were really little. We danced to Rock Lobster, and it's hilarious. And I've been begging my oldest son to redo it, like just a few little clips with them big now, because my oldest is way taller than me, and it would be hilarious.
Yeah.
But I haven't convinced him yet to do that. But they used to play on the pole. Now that they're older, they're always, it's just such a normal thing that it's not that fun. Every once in a while, my youngest, he likes it when it's on spin.
Oh.
So he'll come in and he'll be like, yay! but none of them have been super, super interested.
No one's training, no one's competing, no one's like taking it to the next level. It's just like, oh, that's just what my mom does for her job. Like, I'm going to go play basketball or, go do whatever.
Video games.
I was going to say, what do kids do these days? Video games. Okay.
Video games. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's cool though, that they've, it seems like the more exposure there is, the more, normal and quote unquote accept it. You see it online. I'm seeing more, Facebook groups pop up of children pulling, and now a lot of studios are having children pull. So. Yeah.
And like I said, I think it's important to show and explain that there are several different aspects to pole dance. It's not just in strip clubs. It's not just for fitness. There's all these, that's why it's so great, is it's so diverse.
I know, and I like that you embrace all those styles. So what is most popular on your site, and who do you find is kind of like the demographic that you're pulling in most?
You know what? It is definitely moms.
Cool.
And a lot of them older than you would assume, like in their 40s is pretty average.
Cool.
Which I'm almost there.
Girl, me too. Don't even worry.
But yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of moms on there. And there's a good range from, people liking to post the sexy stuff or just starting to explore with it. And some of them are like, I don't know, I feel a little like guilty, so it's a good place where they can post it and not be so open and get comfortable with it and get support, from other people and say, yeah, you're doing a good job, keep at it. It gets easier, and find that, embrace that part. And then we have other people that are, just like to post their tricks that they're working on and maybe get some tips or help, things like that. So it's a good variety.
Yeah, and especially because I know there's a lot of cities out there where a pole studio is still not, especially, in, outside of cities, in the more rural areas. And so, but, luckily the poles do ship all over now. So you can order a pole and do it at home. And I always think like, so personally, my social media is just pole. I have a personal one that I don't even log into anymore. And I always forget that like, oh, my timeline is not what other people's timelines are. Like they have their aunts and uncles and high school kids and, or friends from, 20 years ago, high school and everything. So, and it's like, well, I give people a lot of credit for posting their poll on that. Like I don't have that situation. So
I don't either.
So I know what it's like to be in a social media setting that is just pollers. And I can't tell you how empowering that is. So you take it to the next level of, I can't imagine that trolls are finding your.
No, we had more of an issue at the beginning where, people would come in and intentionally try and be rude, but the members have been so great with helping me keep it a positive place. It's really been their interactions with people. It just was quickly seen that that's not acceptable behavior there.
Yeah.
And, we've removed people in the past, like without question, refunded money if they were taking the lessons. Like, here, you can't do that here. So, and now we really rarely have something, pop up where someone's rude or something like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm all about, like, if it's your online experience, I don't think we should have to deal with trolls. I don't think we should have to deal with negativity. When I'm, like, taking my time to go online, I want to surround myself with positive people. And so, it's not that I'm closed-minded and don't want to hear other views. It's that if it's negative, fuck off.
That's exactly it. Yeah, exactly. Like, you can offer suggestions and things like that, but it's how you interact. If you're just being like, you suck.
Yeah.
Well, then you're gone,
Yeah, exactly. And do you mind if we talk about the price? Because I think it's so affordable. I would love to say it so people know.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now it's normally for a full year, it's $149. And that's a year access to everything. So and we offer a lot of sales here and there. So you got to check your emails, follow my Instagram Facebook, we always post in there too. So the sales can range from $99 for the year to $79 if you catch those really, unique sales. So, but you also have a month option as well, which is fairly popular. That's $20 for the entire month. So if you're not
cheaper
sure,
than a class.
Yeah, exactly. It is. So it's kind of one of those things where you don't have to make a huge commitment. $20 a month. And then we have the less popular, I think it's 60 days, which is $30. Yeah, I kind of forget because of that one. Only a handful of people, want to try that one out. But
yeah, because I think that I always assumed that these online programs were so expensive. But then when I realized, like, even if you don't get it on sale, $149 for access to all of these lessons is so affordable. I realized I sound like an infomercial. I'm not an infomercial. Veena is not compensating me for saying this. I really think that it's a great resource, not only if you're a student, but if you're a teacher, just to kind of like brush up your skills and get, content for your lessons and, to credit.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's fantastic what you do.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, there's a lot of other options out there too, and it's great to learn from other people because, you take a look at the Food Network. It's not just one cook out there. It's a lot of different styles of cooking. So I have my style of teaching, and then there's all the others out there. So it's something where even if you've, done some sort of program or something like that, you can still learn from someone else.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. And you're the only teacher on Studio Veena.
I am. Okay. And so we actually welcome people to go into the discussion. If they have made like a video on how to do a move or something like that, they can post it in the discussion to help people. The only thing is we ask that they don't directly upload, just so that new people don't get confused as to who the instructor is. But otherwise you can upload whatever you want as long as it's not a tutorial.
That's cool. And so let's talk about you personally. We already talked about you being a mother and you starting your online studio, but and your history. But what is do you compete? Do you travel? Do you do any of that? How do you learn?
Yeah, I've been completely self-taught.
Cool.
The entire time. I definitely would like to have the opportunity to learn from some other people. I've taken a class from Jamila years ago and a class from Janine Butterfly, and that's been it.
So like the two best pole dancers out there.
Yeah, so that was probably 6 years ago, I'd say. And it was fun because then we just kind of exchanged ideas and things like that too. But as far as learning, I'm always trying to learn other non-pole related things so that I can apply it to pole dance. So I'm always online, researching hips and shoulders and all sorts of things like that. So it's a process that's continuous, it's ongoing. Mm-hmm. And I don't compete. I never have competed. No, I perform.
Oh, okay.
But not in the pole venues, I guess. It's not really something I've ever been asked to do. So I've performed in a lot of different places, and I love it. Like
parties and stuff or events or?
Yeah, I've done some professional work in San Francisco for like corporate events, things like that. Oh. At certain parties and different venues, some more naughty places, things like that. Those are my favorite. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. But I love performing. Yeah.
That's cool. And I forgot to follow up, but you eventually did meet with your husband in California, in case anyone thought that this separation lingered.
No.
You're in California now?
Well, and we've moved several times, but we are back in California now. At this point.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you've been able to be so into this as a mother of four, I think, and to make a profession of it, I think, a lot of people, having you as a role model is really important because we haven't had too many people on where we've talked about, we've had Tammy Morris, she has 3 or 4 kids, she's out of Vancouver. So it's always interesting to talk to the moms and be like, how the hell do you do all this? You have to do it smart though. Like you as a trainer know how to do this properly and smart, so you're not injuring yourself, you're not pushing your body in the wrong way. That's
exactly it. And that's where constantly learning and discovering, new things, because fitness, just like pole dance, is one of those things that's changing constantly. They're always, learning new things and discovering, oh, well, we shouldn't do that anymore, or, things like that. So it's important to keep following up and learning. And I don't read like novels or fun books. The things I like to read are things where I'm learning. I've looked at massage books and learned massage and things like that, just because it's interesting and I think it's fun. So
yeah, that's cool. You can learn that way. I always need to be in a situation with someone. Like I need to take one of your videos and watch it. I can't read about it and apply it. So it's cool that you have that kind of brain.
Yeah. Well, and that's the cool thing about the lessons is I try to do the whole tell, show, do. So that's people who learn just by listening can listen to a video and follow along. Like if they're upside down, they can clearly understand what I'm saying by just what I'm saying. And then there's the people who visually learn, and that's why I have the front and back and, slow motion, things like that. So it kind of captures, and I show the whole thing before we go into it, so that captures the whole show portion of it. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge to think, how am I going to teach someone when I'm not there with them?
Yeah, totally different, right?
Yeah, yep.
But I mean, you've been doing it for so long. I'm sure you've figured out it was probably a bit of trial and error in the beginning, but and having that discussion, having the feedback.
Yes, yeah, we're on I think this is at least my third reincarnation of the lessons. Like I've updated them at least 3 times. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool. So what's like an average day for you then, running the website?
It can really vary. At this point in time, I have a huge running list of things I'd like to do for the year. So I haven't gotten to the point where I'm recording yet, but once I start, once my plan is made, then I start recording, and you gotta set everything up, and then I do all of the recording myself. I do the editing myself. Oh, wow. All of that, the planning, so it's a challenge. Occasionally I can convince like my kids to help me start and stop the camera or something like that, but otherwise I'm typically on my own. But yeah, so a typical day, I spend my mornings getting the kids to the school, and then when I get home, that's my time to work out. And I'm not a morning person. I hated switching, because when I first started pole dancing, I did it at night. It was great. But then just schedule-wise, I had to make it work in the morning. So I typically practice from 9 until 11:30, and that's not like hitting it hard. I fool around a lot, just hula hooping and, yay, this is exciting. And then I'll do a pole practice, or I'll do some yoga or something. I pole dance maybe 3 times a week at the most.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I supplement with other things. It keeps everything going so that you don't have the overuse injury issues. But yeah, so then after that I have my lunch, and then pretty soon, I got to clean up some stuff, and then it's time to get the kids again from school. And then it's help with homework and snacks and time to make dinner for everybody. And then the kids, get ready for bed. And at that point, then I hang out with my older 2 kids and my husband. We watch some TV or something. And then sometimes I'll do stretching or flexibility training some evenings if I'm trying to really commit.
You got something you want to achieve that day.
Exactly, yeah. So...
And so do you do all of like the marketing and all of the like newsletters and all of that stuff? Have you figured out how to automate that so you could do that like not every day?
That is my husband. He takes care of, I don't even want to handle the payments, because for me, I don't see that, because I don't want I don't want it to change my attitude towards what I'm doing. So I don't want to see, oh, I've had a bad sales day, or, oh, I did this and I've had a good sales day, so I keep doing that. I just want to do what I'm doing because it feels right and it feels like what I should be doing. So I let him look at that stuff. It didn't work well when I did it. I just didn't like seeing it. So I don't want that to taint my perception of, what's happening. So he takes care of anything technical like that.
Is it his full-time job?
No, It used to be our full-time job together.
Cool.
But with insurance issues now, with health insurance, he had to get a job.
Yeah.
So, because it was too much for us to pay on our own.
I know that feeling. As an independent worker, yes. And so it's tough, but I'm glad it worked out. And I feel like, you guys kind of put in all of the infrastructure when you were at it full time. So now, that was probably a huge struggle, and now it's maintaining it, which is less of a stress.
It is. He's always changing stuff though, like even with the search, there's always something that you can make faster or better, or the mobile aspect of it was a really big thing when he made sure that, because I want to say, he'll probably say this is wrong, but I think it's like 80% of the people that use the website use it on their phone or some sort of mobile device.
I believe that because your computer is not set up next to your pole.
No.
Well, maybe it is if you have an awesome studio training space. But I know where my pole room is, I have to bring my phone in when I train.
Yeah.
Or, say I had an iPad, that's what I would bring in. But that's probably what people were watching on iPads and tablets and things. So, yeah. Well, sounds like he knows what he's doing. So
yeah, that's his thing. He's the tech guy.
You're the talent,
Exactly.
He's your stage mom. No, not your stage mom. He's your manager.
Yeah. So we work together on, coming up with different criteria for advertising and things like that, because I do enjoy that aspect of it. But he's the one that gets it out there. Cool. So.
And what's your trajectory moving forward? Keep going? Any big changes, or are you kind of happy with what you've accomplished?
Well, there's always something that you have as an idea of, we need to change this, or we could go this direction. So there's definitely changes that we have in our mind, and the web is always changing. People are going more towards apps and things like that, which takes time, but at this point, there's nothing concrete and no big announcement yet, but there's always stuff that's going through our head, like to make things better, to make things more user-friendly, things like that. So get
on the mailing list, follow the social media. It's all going to be in the show notes. So, and I'm sure they could just search Studio Veena and find it.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So let's jump into part 2 of the interview, the questions I ask everyone.
Okay.
So who is Veena's pole crush?
You know what? It's always been Tara Karina. Like, she was this person that, for me, I saw her, she's just this person in a garage who was doing these really cool things.
I don't know if everyone knows who she is. I'm going to put a video. She's like an old school when people were starting. Yes. People found her online because she was posting videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
And she was going through, she was going through an eating disorder, I think, like healing from an eating disorder at the time.
It was, I believe it was like depression, panic attacks.
That's what it was. It was something where it was like so therapeutic for her.
Yes.
And so that's right. And so she used this platform, and that she found this pole, and she basically kind of like through learning pole and posting videos, like healed.
And she changed, I think, the perception of pole dance for a lot of people, because her videos got really huge. They got a ton of views. And so it was different seeing somebody, just in their garage, like a normal average person doing this thing, this pole dance. Like, what is this? And so she's always just been somebody that, I was always in awe of, and followed a lot. And we're friends on Instagram and things like that. So
that's awesome. So cool. That's a good. No one's ever said her before. I love when we get new ones. So that was a great pole crush to have from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so, since you've seen the pole community evolve from the beginning, how would you like to see it evolve over the next 5 years?
I think we're going in a pretty good direction right now. For a while, we were hitting that point where we were so focused on fitness that the sexy side got pushed away. And I think it's really important. I would like to continue us to still bring out the sexy side and, show average everyday women that, yes, it's sexy, and yes, it's okay, and yes, you should try it. Because it's one of those things that can absolutely change a woman's life when they connect into that side of themselves. Because it's something that, as women we're told, be successful, work hard, all of these crazy things, but we neglect the sexual aspect of who we are as women. And it's important to get in touch with that, I think. So,
especially when you have children.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're not just a baby machine.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. You have to, find that part of yourself, the pre-baby side of yourself. So,
right.
I think I think mothers more than, I think everyone, but I think it's so important for mothers to remember that side of themselves, because they can be so selfless and, being nurturing and raising their children that, they don't spend the time on themselves. So
exactly, you gotta nurture yourself too, and your children will see you taking time for yourself, and it's good for them to see that mom is taking time for herself, or mom wants to look pretty, or even seeing. We had a discussion once on Studio Veena where somebody was concerned about wearing, a short top and short shorts in front of their child for pole. And, it's one of those things where I've always worn bikinis, things like that, when we go to the beach, because even though I have stretch marks, things like that, I want my kids to see that I'm not ashamed of my body, and we shouldn't be ashamed of our bodies, Yeah. So I think it's important to just be you and be okay with it.
Yes, I agree. Sometimes it's hard and it's unnatural, but the more you do it, it feels like, I think of myself, not to make this about me, but I do remember, I probably had a fine body back, in my 20s, but I would never wear a bikini because I was so oh my goodness, I saw the models and I saw
yes.
I have
not good enough.
And now that I can pull in, a sports bra and bikini bottoms all the time, I have no problem now going to the beach in a two-piece. I didn't wear a two-piece for so long. So, and now it's oh, well, I've seen so many different bodies that I realize we're all beautiful. And so,
exactly.
Come join us. It's a lovely place to be, of self-love and stopping to hate your body.
It is.
And so I think we shared everything with the audience that you have coming up and how to reach you. Was there anything that you wanted to add, or did we cover that?
I think we're pretty good. I will have some new stuff coming this year as far as lessons go.
Cool.
Again, another running list of things I want to do. But so look for those.
How many videos are up there now, approximately? Do you have any idea?
No, at this point, because we've
over 1,000.
Oh yeah,
well, yeah. 1,000. Okay. Yeah. So someone's gonna join, not gonna get through all the videos in 2 months.
Oh yeah, we've had people continuously do the year from the beginning, the time I started. Wow. Yes, we've kept people engaged, because there's so much content. A single video. We have individual lessons that break down, say, a invert. But then I have routines that are, a half hour long or things like that, where you can go through and do that. So that's a lesson that's longer than 5 minutes. So, yeah.
Cool. So don't be fearing that you're going to make it through the entire library in in your first month or something.
Yeah. And there's I know a lot of websites, they break things up where you have to repurchase to get to the next level or something like that. There's fitness websites that do that. But this is, once you purchase, you have access to every single thing, even the programs. So
that's awesome.
Everything.
That's awesome. So before I let you go and
Yeah.
get fed and pick up your kids from school, continue on with your day, can you leave us with an empowering message or quote?
You know, again, I want to talk again about, as women, if you've never tried, and men too, if you've never tried that sexy side of pole dance, to give it a shot. It might feel uncomfortable at first. It might feel wrong or awkward or things like that. But try it. Keep at it. Give it a month or so of just toying around with it, because it really can help you connect to that whole person, you know, that you might be missing, that little piece of you. And it spreads throughout your entire day. And it makes you a better mom. It makes you a better lover. It makes you a better chef. No, I don't know. It just makes you, you know, a whole person. And for those people who are, you know, new to pole dance, and you see all of these amazing pole dancers and you think you need to learn every single move there is, understand that there's not one level that you have to reach. The only thing that matters is that you're enjoying yourself, because even at the beginner level, you can still enjoy the fitness benefits and the fun of pole. So you don't ever have to invert. You don't ever have to get XYZ move, and you can still enjoy, you know, your pole and have fun.
Yes, I'm high-fiving you because that message can't be said enough.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Veena. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. It was so interesting to talk with you.
Thanks for having me. You're great. You're fun.
Well, we try. It's just pole, you know. I don't have to be so serious. So.
That's right.
Thanks for having fun with me.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Pole Parlour podcast. Want more? Visit poleparlour.com for show notes and to link to the Facebook group where you can connect with other poleaholics and continue the conversation. Listen to past episodes and subscribe to new episodes on the website, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. Lots of love, babes. Thanks for listening.